The year is now. America is at war with itself. Not a civil war of states and politics, but a clash of titans. The United States Army versus the United States Navy. One commands the land, the other dominates the seas. Two branches, forged to defend the same flag, now forced to destroy one another. Who would survive, and what would happen if the US Army and US Navy went to war? This is a hypothetical scenario. The United States military, the most powerful fighting force in history, fractures into two rival commands, the Army and the Navy. Each retains its full resources, manpower, and technology. The Air Force and Marines are split evenly. Lines of loyalty are redrawn. Soldiers, sailors, and aviators must now decide who they fight for. The battlefield? The very homeland they once swore to protect. Cities, coastlines, air bases, ports, and highways become contested ground. This is not just a war for control. It is a war that would decide which domain, land or sea, truly rules America. First, the Army. With over 450,000 active soldiers, tanks, artillery, and the backbone of America's ground combat, the Army's strength lies in holding territory. They dominate the inland United States. They control the highways, the fuel depots, and many of the air bases scattered across the interior. Their heavy armor, Abrams tanks, Bradley fighting vehicles, long-range artillery, would make them a nearly unstoppable force on land. Their numbers and logistics mean they could mobilize faster than any other branch. But they face a deadly rival, the Navy. With over 300 combat ships, submarines armed with nuclear warheads, and 11 aircraft carriers, the Navy is the ultimate global power projection force. They command the oceans. They control the coastlines. With naval aviation wings and carrier strike groups, they could cut off the Army supply lines by sea. Submarines could cripple ports, oil refineries, and communication lines. Their control of America's coasts would strangle the Army like a tightening noose. This is not just land versus sea. It is armor and artillery versus carriers and submarines. It is infantry versus air wings launched from the waves. History has witnessed armies and navies clash before. In World War II, Japan's Imperial Navy fought bitterly against American ground forces across the Pacific Islands. Control of the seas determined which armies could fight at all. In the American Civil War, Union naval blockades starved the Confederacy of trade, crippling their war effort long before land battles ended it. And in modern conflicts, the lesson remains clear: whoever commands the sea commands the war. But America is unique. Its Army and Navy are not foreign rivals. They are branches of the same machine, each designed to complement the other. If forced to fight, their strengths would turn into weaknesses. The Army's reliance on overseas shipping would collapse under Navy blockades. The Navy's need for land-based resupply would fall prey to the Army's chokehold over railroads and pipelines. This war would not look like anything the world has ever seen. The moment war begins, both branches move to secure their strongholds. The Army locks down the interior. Washington, Texas, and the Midwest fall under armored control. The Navy sails its carriers out of port, avoiding the Army's missile strikes. Submarines vanish beneath the waves, preparing to cut off shipping routes. The Navy enforces blockades. No oil tankers, no overseas trade. Ports like Los Angeles, New York, and Houston are sealed off. The Army responds by pushing inland defenses toward coastal aid. Without them, Navy carriers risk isolation. Skirmishes erupt at key choke points: Norfolk, San Diego, Pearl Harbor. Control of the skies becomes the deciding factor. The Army Air Corps launches sorties from inland bases, striking Navy ships near shore, but carriers move constantly, dispersing their forces across oceans. If the Navy can destroy inland air bases, the Army's tanks and artillery are trapped with no cover. If the Army can neutralize carriers, the Navy loses its greatest reach. As supply lines crumble and rises, the Army seizes farmland, securing food. The Navy controls oil imports, forcing shortages inland. Cyber warfare erupts. Communications, satellites, and GPS networks become battlegrounds as both sides blind each other's operations. Casualties climb into the hundreds of thousands. The Navy holds America's nuclear-armed submarines. The Army controls land-based nuclear missile silos. If either side grows desperate enough, this war could end not with victory, but with annihilation. The Army might march on coastal cities, overwhelming them with sheer numbers. But could they survive under constant bombardment from naval missiles, carrier jets, and submarine strikes? The Navy might choke the heartland into submission by starvation and fuel shortages. But could they ever truly defeat an army entrenched across millions of square miles? The truth is chilling. This war could never be won, only endured. Victory would come not from triumph but from collapse. Collapse of infrastructure, collapse of economy, collapse of the United States itself. And if America fell to its knees in civil war, who would rise to take its place? Rivals abroad would seize the moment. Allies would fracture. The balance of world power would shift overnight. The Army and the Navy destroying each other would mean the end of American dominance forever. This is why no war like this could ever happen. The US military was never designed to fight itself. The Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, they are all part of one organism. Separate, they are powerful. Together, they are unstoppable. This thought experiment reveals a deeper truth. America's strength does not lie in one branch over another. It lies in unity. Because divided, the greatest military on earth would collapse into ruin. But united, it remains a force unlike anything history has ever seen. So what do you think? If the Army and Navy ever clashed, who would claim victory? And here's a bigger question. What if every branch of the US military fought for control of the nation? Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines, all at once? That is a story for another time.